Hi, welcome to Men in God. I am your host, Pastor Jacob Mabote, and this is your #1 favorite show. We have a show today where we are going to discuss about men of integrity. Viewers, I hope you remember that the purpose of the show, it is to inspire men to be driven into their purpose and also to help them to leave a godly legacy for the next generation. Today we have a special guest in our midst. Muruti, will you please introduce yourself and tell us about your ministry?
Hi, I'm Pastor Oleva Velbroek. I'm pastoring a church in Norcombe Park, Kempton Park, called New Beginning Community Church. I'm a married man. I have 3 beautiful children. Yeah, that's it about me.
Wow, thanks Muruti. We are honored to have you in our midst today. Muruti, today we are talking about the man of integrity. Before we go deeper, I just want you to explain to us what is integrity.
Muruti, I would say integrity for me in particular talks about somebody who's consistent, somebody who is saying what they actually living. In other words, what people will normally say or term practice what you preach. A man of integrity is somebody who practices what they preach. As Jesus would say, let your yes be a yes and your no be a no. For me, a man of integrity is that kind of a person, the person who would do what they say they would do, who would do what they say they would do. That kind of a person. In fact, it's so interesting because when you look up for the word integrity, they say it means someone who is whole.
Wow.
And not divided.
Wow.
Yes.
Thanks, Muruti. And we lack such men in our families today. We lack such men in our communities and in the nation at large. And will you please, Muruti, give us steps that makes one to be a man of integrity?
Muruti, I try to crack my head to think of the steps that we need to take to become men of integrity. And I came to one conclusion. The one conclusion that I came to, having looked at different people, especially in the Bible, who we would term or we would regard to be men of integrity, one thing that I see in all of them, people who are coming from different backgrounds, people who come from, in fact, people who are there in different times of history. One thread that goes through all of their lives, it is that they had one thing in common. They had God.
Wow.
It starts there, Muruti. It starts with you being steeped into God. The other time I was talking, and this is one thing that comes to my mind now. I was talking about one particular year when it was my daughter's birthday. Wow. So we went out, and as we went out, we were sitting around the table, and we ordered some cool drinks for them. And what happened was that because the tables were so high, and my children are so small, the cans came, and as they came, they had straws inside. But now, because my kids are short, the straw could not go deep into the can. It had to go sideways. Wow. And so they're sitting there and they're trying to suck the cool drink out of the can. So they sucked a little bit, but soon after that they realized that there was no cool drink coming out of the straw. And the reason it was not coming out of the straw, it was because it was pointing sideways, not directly down into the cool drink. And one of my daughters took it out, and she was shaking it and tried to suck it out, but there was nothing coming out. And I realized at that moment that the reason she is struggling to get cool drink out, it is because the straw is not connected to the cool drink.
Wow.
And so in that particular context, one would say the straw was not doing what it was designed to do, which was to give her the cool drink. And I realized, using that as an example, I realized that even in our societies, we move out of the design, we move out of how we were supposed to function, simply because we have unplugged ourselves, we have taken ourselves out of God. So we can never be men of integrity, we can never operate and function the way that we were designed to function when we are not plugged, when we are not dipped inside God.
Wow.
So the only step, which is the first step, the only step that we need to take as people, it is that we need to go back to God.
Wow. I hope you hear there at home that you have to be connected to God for you to be able to be a man of integrity. Moruti, a lot has been said about churches. People, they are no longer interested in what we call church because they feel that today in our churches we lack men of integrity. What can you say about pastors? Because each and every person who goes to church, they go to church believing that when I get there, I will find a leader who is a man of integrity.
Yes.
What can you say about pastors who are leading churches today when we talk about integrity?
I'm going to make a very general statement. The statement that I'm going to make would be, there is so much that has become part of the church. Church has become more complex and more complicated. And what I realized, without necessarily repeating myself, what I have realized is that we have focused on so much. And in focusing so much, we have moved away from the main thing. In other words, we are at a place, as other people would say, we are now measuring on the minors instead of measuring on the majors.
Okay.
And so we are at a place where we're so focused on many other things. There are a lot of events, there are a lot of things, you know the church, Muruti, there are a lot of things that are happening in the church, and most of the things that are happening in the church, instead of taking us to the main thing, instead of taking us back to God, they have actually taken us away from God. We have become so busy with things that we lack the time to go back to God. In fact, there's a story, I'm not going to mention the story, I'm not going to tell the story, but there's a story that is told about the man who got a job to cut the trees with an axe. And so he would go there, he went there the first day and he cut such a number of trees. Let's say, for example, the first day he cut about 50 trees. Okay. And then he went there the second day and it went down to 40. And every day the number kept on going down. And the boss or the employer became rather very worried about that, concerned about that. And he went to the man and he said, what is it that has been happening that caused you to reduce the number of the trees that you're cutting? And the guy came up with a lot of excuses. And then the boss asked him, do you take time to refine the axe, to sharpen the axe? And the man says, no, I don't have time for that. And I think that is a problem that we have, and we become so busy with cutting the trees, which should be the things that we have got to do in church, running different ministries and visiting the people. And in doing so, we're moving away from the main thing, which is being plugged in God.
Wow, that's powerful. I hope you are listening, viewer, that we are building men. And by building men, we are automatically building families. And not only families, it's communities, and the nation at large. So, Muruti, I want us to focus on communities. I mean, our communities today, they are lost because we don't have leaders, men of integrity. So what can you say? What is it that communities can do to inspire men to be men of integrity in their communities?
Muruti, can I answer that by giving you some of the examples, particularly looking at the Bible?
Wow.
Because I think when we say integrity, anyone can interpret it their own way. So if you would allow me, I will just give you a few pointers of the kind of people that we need to become.
Okay.
Because I honestly believe that integrity is a result of, as I've been saying, it's not something that you pursue. We don't pursue integrity itself, but integrity becomes as a result of something, as I said earlier on, being steeped in God. So as a result of that, we become men and women of integrity. Particularly talking about men, we become men of integrity. And for me, I would love to give example. There are a lot of people that one can think of, but one that comes to my mind would be Joseph. You would remember that Joseph was that kind of person who, at some stage, had an opportunity to sleep with Potiphar's wife, and I don't think anyone would have known, but he refused to do that. And I'm thinking that when the kind of people that we're looking for are the kind of people who their public life will be the same as their private life, the same way as Joseph did. I'm thinking of people like Job. Job would be the kind of person who, even when all hell broke loose against him, he decided to hold on to his conviction. We have become very feeble as people, that we are controlled by circumstances, we are controlled by seasons that we're finding ourselves in. We believe something until something happens. But with Job, you start to realize that this man held on to his conviction in spite of the season that he found himself in spite of the circumstances and situations that surrounded him. And I believe that what our communities are looking for are the kind of people who will say, I'm holding on to the principle, I'm holding on to the conviction in spite of my circumstances, in spite of my situation. The last one that I would give would be of the three Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. You will remember that at some stage they were in exile, and while they were in exile, they found themselves having to worship an idol, and they refused. What comes to my mind is they were not the only Hebrew people in that area. There were others, and I would believe that others gave in. But even though others gave in, they said, we're not going to give in. And I'm believing that we need to have those kind of people, those kind of men leading our communities, people who would say, we are not going to go with what is popular. We're going with what we believe is true, and we're standing for that in spite of what other people may be doing and believing.
Wow, powerful. Men of God, many people are talking about our nation, South Africa today. They are saying we don't have leaders. And one of the reasons that makes them to say that it is because many people are saying in our nation we don't have men of integrity. Our nation today is struggling. The economy is not doing well. So what can you say to inspire leaders out there? Leaders who are supposed to lead this nation. Leaders who are supposed to make a difference in this nation for us to be better people as a nation. What can you say just to inspire them?
I believe that as a nation there's a place we want to go to. There are things that we will want to achieve. And I believe that we need to get to a point where we start understanding, especially as leaders, that being a leader is not so much a position, but it is a place of function where you are given a privilege to function. And you're given a place, or you're given a privilege to function not so much for yourself, but for the people that you lead. If we would remember that, I believe that we will build a better nation. So let us remember, as we, for a lack of a better word, as we ascend different positions, and as we get to other positions, or when we get to those positions where we'll have the privilege to exercise authority, let us not forget why we are there. Let us remember that we are there not primarily for ourselves, not to enrich ourselves, but to make sure that the lives of the people are better. So I would say to everyone, let us remember why we are there.
Wow, powerful. I hope you have heard Umuruti, what he has said. We are building men, and by building men we are building families, and by building families we are building communities and the nation at large. Muruti, thank you so much. Please tell us, if people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
I'm a very simple person. You can find me on my number is 081-241-4223. I'm That number is the number that I use. Can be contacted telephonically, but I'm also on WhatsApp with the very same number. I'm also on Facebook. My name is Oleva Velbroek. Oleva Velbroek on Facebook, and yeah, those are the platforms that I use at the moment.
Thank you so much, viewer. Be strong in the Lord. One of the things that makes us to be men of integrity, it is because we are rooted and grounded in the Lord. So be strong in the Lord, trust God, and keep on watching the show. So as we close, keep on watching the show. Don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel, DaveytonTV, and also follow us on Facebook, like our page, and follow us. Thank you so much. We love you. Keep watching the show. This is DaveytonTV. We are doing it for ourselves. Thank you. May God bless you. Shalom.